What's going on, everybody? This is Blockchain Bullz, and today we're going to talk about the cryptocurrency projects not to invest in. How to identify projects that have bad signs right off the bat. That's what we're going to get into in this video, so stick around. Alright, so the very first thing I would say stay away from is anonymous creators. Founders who don't want to announce themselves or make themselves known. So if you can't find the creator of the project, whether it's on LinkedIn or on Twitter, that's probably a red flag. We all know about Q Anonymous, or Anonymous, the group that always is looking to uncover dirt on people. Well, when a project creator is anonymous, that's a major red flag in my opinion. So when you go to their website or you search Google and you can't find out who's behind that creator or that project, stay away. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to do with the fundamentals, but it has to do with the technicals. When it comes to being an investor, don't chase a project that's on a pump. If you look at a chart and you see that the coin's chart is headed straight up, just inverted, stay away from that opportunity to invest at that particular moment. Wait a little bit for that project to come back down to earth and correct itself, especially if you want to get into it. When you jump into something that's going up, that's a pump. Which usually happens after that is a dump. I know that's kind of obvious to many of you, but you'd be surprised how many newbies have to go through that step. So when I plant this seed in your mind, when you see that happening, don't chase it, because that's what you're doing. You're chasing the coin, you're FOMOing into the project. So now you know. All right, so back to the fundamentals. When you go to a coin or a project's website and you see that their roadmap is not being updated, or if you scroll down to the bottom of their website and where it says copyright, the name of the project, and then 2020. Here it is, January, okay, fine, but moving into the latter parts of 2021, if you see that they have outdated information on their website, that's a big red flag. So also check their social media, check their Twitter, make sure they're active on there. If they're posting useless information that's not even really related to the developments of the project, that's a red flag in my opinion. So staying current with information, that way you know that they're active, they're building stuff. If they're kind of crickets or silent on what the developments are on that project, that's a big red flag in my opinion. All right, if you've been in cryptocurrency long enough, you know about these exit scams that have existed. Typically they happen from projects that are outside of your country's jurisdiction. They might be in places like Hong Kong. Not to say that all projects coming out of Hong Kong are exit scams, but you'll also see them coming out of like the Seychelles or some of these island nations that are outside of your home country's jurisdiction. The SEC can't touch them, or maybe you're out of Europe or Australia and they can't get to them, so they think they can just exit scam. Typically people who do this, they talk a big game. They pump, and then they just kind of disappear, and they usually need a big false flag event for the justification for why they're going under, whether it be they got hacked or something like this. So be on the lookout for people who talk a big game outside of this jurisdiction of the country that you're investing from, and then they just kind of disappear and go away and you never hear from them again. They get liquidated. We've seen this happen quite a few times. So here's one for you. Watch out for projects that are always in testnet. They've been on the market maybe for 6 months to a year. They keep talking about all these delivery dates, and they kind of postpone it out a year or two for their mainnet. So they're always in testnet. It's like Polkadot, right? They hit the market, ready to go, product, blockchain ready to build on. Then you have other blockchain projects that are out there that are like, we're peer-reviewed research, we're still in research, and you're like looking at your clock, you're like, how many years are you guys gonna be in research? You guys may know the projects that I'm talking about that do that, right? But when you hear someone always talking about delayed delivery dates for the mainnet, for the actual product, that's a big red flag right there if you ask me. So here's one for you. Many of you already probably know this, but I also know a lot of you don't know about this. There's projects and tokens out there in particular that build on the Ethereum network or some of these other blockchains, and they know the game. They create a website, they create social media channels, they get all set up, look professional, talk the big game, even copy an old white paper, kind of change the lingo, and then they call that a project. They don't really have any intention of delivering, they just want to be on the blockchain and call themselves a token. Projects that do that, they'll also have fake followers on their social media. So brand new project, already 40,000 followers or 15,000 subscribers. You go in the comments and you look around and you see they look like they have a lot of bots just commenting. These are Bots typically have like cartoon faces, anime faces. They don't actually look like real people. They're not even real people. That's what they are. They're bots. So be on the lookout for projects that have a lot of bots, or what appears to be a lot of bots, in the comments of their project, because typically those are people who are faking it to make it, not legit. All right, so be on the lookout for all these fakers out there trying to get your money. Now scammers, they do get clever. They get more creative as time goes by. Sometimes you go to their website and you'll see there's pictures of photos from Shutterstock or some of these other photo picture gathering places where they go, get the pictures, put the guy's face right there, and then write a testimonial about how great their project is or what they had as an experience. Come to find out, you'll find that exact same picture on Shutterstock or Pixabay or one of these other websites, and you're like, hey, wait, that's not a real testimonial. That's just a made-up fake testimonial. Again, they fake it to make it. So we've even seen this happen where they actually fake the pictures of their team and then give them a fake name, and they use Shutterstock images. So whenever you can identify that something looks fishy like that, just be on the lookout. Those are out there. One thing that I think is important, especially as time goes by in cryptocurrency, is developing discernment. Knowing how to identify a legit project from an illegit project, right? So whenever you have legitimate projects that are really doing things, telltale signs like Ethereum or Polkadot, some of these other big cryptocurrencies that you know are actually working on groundbreaking stuff, identify what it is about them, and then look at some of the exit scams that have been there before. We already know some of the projects, BitConnect just to name one. So kind of developing that internal mechanism that allows you to identify scams versus legit, right? So that's one thing that I would say start working on right away. So this is kind of on par with the previous discussion about projects outside of your country's jurisdiction. Also keep an eye on exchanges that are outside of your country's jurisdiction. We've seen this happen a few times with these exchanges where you might buy, I don't know, a lotto ticket, maybe a coin or a token that you can't really get anywhere else. It's a Hong Kong exchange, but you really want to get into it, you FOMO, and you put $100 worth of Ether into it. You know, and then you find out you just kept it there for 6 months because it wasn't really worth anything. You check back and then you get a URL, a destination server error, right? And you're like, what's going on? Then you do a little research and you find out supposedly they got hacked and they went offline, and there was this big controversy surrounding that exchange. So exchanges outside of your country's jurisdiction, watch out for those too. Some of us have already had experience with that. And if a coin or a token makes you have to go to some of those illicit exchanges to get purchase their coins or tokens, it's also a red flag in my opinion. Going back to the subject of anonymous creators, I know this is going to come up. People are going to say, well, what about Bitcoin? Satoshi Nakamoto was anonymous. Well, he had a good reason, or that group of people had a good reason to be anonymous. They were working on completely groundbreaking stuff without any real regulatory guidelines to follow. Projects today, tokens today, they don't really have an excuse to go all anonymous like that. That's why I bring that up. So yes, Satoshi Nakamoto, no one knows who he is by face. Well, they say he's Craig Wright, but we'll see. But that's why there's a difference. One thing that is kind of a red flag, I would say, it's not always the biggest deal breaker, but a lot of contention among the project. We've seen how there's been a lot of projects in Bitcoin. For example, you have Bitcoin Core, right? But then you had to have all these forks that kind of forked off it. And we understand that there was some need to evolve, but then you had all these fallouts. And so you have Bitcoin Cash constantly have falling outs, and then you had Bitcoin SV, and you have a bunch of different Bitcoins. Now, obviously, Bitcoin at its core is still strong and still there, but whenever you see projects where the project leader keeps changing projects, maybe once or twice is fine, maybe 3 times okay, but after you start to notice that change after change after change, it's like something is off with that, right? So keep that in mind when you see this constant turnover. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I've dabbled in MLM in the real world, I guess you could call it. I've done certain projects, you know, they have Amway and they have all these different MLMs. Well, I've noticed that in cryptocurrency, whenever you see a pyramid scheme kind of popping up, that's a red flag. So we saw that kind of with BitConnect, where it was like dependent on more people coming in to keep it alive, and then at some point in time the whole thing was going to come crashing down like a house of cards, right? So that's different now when you're referring someone to an exchange to get the $10 for a referral, right? That's just affiliate marketing. So don't confuse affiliate marketing with MLM strategy or pyramid scheme. So whenever you see something that appears to be a pyramid scheme, watch out for that. I want to touch on the subject of big talkers, people who like to embellish the truth. They like to get out there and they talk a big game about all the things they're doing. Typically, you know, money talks, BS walks, right? Remember Mike Tyson? He said, put your money where your mouth is, right? So it's like, shush up, put the money in your mouth and just do your job, right? And when it comes to cryptocurrency projects, you get a lot of talkers. They want to do all these different things. Sometimes they do a little bit too much giveaways. Within reason, but when it's always a giveaway to get attention, that's typically a red flag in my opinion. You guys know some of these projects. You can drop them in the comments below, seeing if you guys are triggered by any of those projects out there who talked a big game like that to build their network, and then they ended up just going away the wayside. So when a project's talking a big game, constantly a hater project or whatever, watch out for that. I'm not saying it's always the case, but you know how it is. Big talkers. It's like when you play golf, right? Someone says, oh, they're a scratch golfer. That means they shoot even par, and you go out there and then they shoot a 90, not a 72. And you're like, wow. So he overpromised, underdelivered. It's better to be someone who underpromises and overdelivers, isn't it? All right, guys. So that's going to conclude this episode about things to look out for when you're investing in cryptocurrencies. I didn't really want to name too many projects by name here. I did do a little bit of name dropping just to give some clarification, but you guys know in the comments what you could do if you guys want to help the community with some of that information. So feel free to drop some comments. If this is your first time here, you can hit that subscribe button, click the bell, and then turn on all notifications to get notified every time a new video comes out. So we'll see you guys.